I've been ahead of the curve on several things in my life, one of which, the obsession with old school square body trucks, dent side and bump side trucks, and OBS Ford Broncos. If you offered me my choice between a new Ferrari and an original condition, new old stock Ford Bronco from 1983, I'd likely take the Bronco. Unless I could take the Ferrari and sell it to buy more Broncos. My obsession dates back to my childhood. Like many of us, I look back with fond memories of the place that a couple Ford Broncos had in my family's life. It started with the red 1979 Ford Bronco that my dad had as his daily driver in my childhood. The Bronco had a red body, black top, spoke steel white wheels, a manual transmission, sliding rear windows, and a rumble I can still recall. Just after 5 p.m., Dad would drive home from work, down through a valley and up the other side. The dual exhaust on that Ford Bronco traversing the valley would ring out like an early warning system. The downshifts down the hill, stopping at the stop sign, and then accelerating up the hill. For decades, that V8 set the standard for what I thought an engine should sound like. It was a small block 302, but sounded like it could tow anything. And it did tow an old Nomad camper around on vacations. Campers back then were not the lightweight versions of today. That 1979 square headlight Ford Bronco started a long history of Broncos for me. Eventually, Dad traded that Dent side 1979 in on a bullnose 1985. The blue and white Bronco had the 351 engine with a variable Venturi carburetor and an automatic transmission. This new Bronco took us on adventures camping in cabins, towing the Nomad camper to campgrounds both near and far, and eventually on a family vacation to Chincoteague Island. Its paint pattern was sharp and replicated today. White fiberglass top and belt stripe, blue painted above and below the stripe, white wagon wheels, long mud flaps, and a towering whip CB antenna off the rear bumper completed the look. Our family of 5 easily rode around in this machine that didn't have shoulder belts in the back seat or headrests anywhere. Both the 1979 and the 1985 have features I wish vehicles still had today, like the rain guard above the doors and the foot-click high beams. These two Broncos left a lifelong impression on a child that has created an itch throughout my life. The first Bronco I purchased was a 1983 XL with the 300 cubic inch straight 6 engine. It was a 3-speed automatic with vinyl floor and without any frills. I paid $1,300 for it with around 60,000 miles on it in the year 2000. To this day, it has been my favorite Bronco. It didn't have air conditioning, but the triangle vent wing window did plenty of cooling on hot days. I eventually started my upgrades. Stainless steel dual exhaust from a straight 6. It sounded pretty good. I got a set of chrome Krager wagon spoke wheels to replace the steel wheels with plastic hubcaps. And eventually I had an opportunity to have a local auto body school at the Votech repaint it for me, at no charge to me. I just had to supply the paint, the sanding discs, and a new tailgate shell. I think I had $600 into everything for the paint job and bodywork. It was easily the sharpest 1983 Bronco around, complete with clear coat, in 2004. Everywhere I took it, it got compliments. I have lots of memories camping with that Bronco, pulling stuck people from ditches in the winter, and taking it on road trips. If only I still had that Bronco today, as is the case with all my Broncos. I eventually sold it because I either needed the money for a project or a new interest like building a garage or buying a boat. I think I sold it for $4,000. I had the name and number, a landline, of the person I sold it to. That phone's disconnected now. I've tried tracking it down and can see that the title was changed to junk title in 2009. I fear it may have been turned in during the cash for clunkers craze. For those of you not familiar, the government issued $2.85 billion to auto dealers to buy old, not fuel-efficient vehicles from customers at $3,500 to $4,500 each, even if they were only worth $200, $300, $400. Lots of classic old trucks and cars were destroyed. While I had that 1983 Bronco, my girlfriend at the time bought a Bronco off some family friends. I believe it was a 1990, all black, XLT. It had the 5.8 engine, and she loved the horsepower climbing hills. But it didn't take long, and we actually had to have that engine replaced with a Jasper remanufactured engine, probably due to her running the truck a bit too hard. Fast forward to January 2010, and a girlfriend later, my wife Jennifer, I got a Bronco itch again. I saw an original owner 1991 Eddie Bauer for sale on Craigslist for $4,500. These owners had purchased it new and opted for the lifetime rust protection from Ford. Here in northwest Pennsylvania winters with a heavy salt use, there really is no way to rust-proof a vehicle for life. Ford learned that the hard way, doing bodywork and repainting this Bronco multiple times for the original owner at no charge. Eventually, Ford contacted the owners and bought out the lifetime agreement, saying they would not again pay for bodywork and paint. That's when the owners sold the Bronco to me. Jennifer and I really liked this sharp black Eddie Bauer Bronco with the tan bottom and the comfortable tan interior. With the 351 Windsor and the E4OD transmission, it ran great and looked great. It's still Jennifer's "I can't believe you sold that" story when we talk about Broncos and old vehicles. I still have the original window sticker, laminated. I remember that I sold it because with Mackenzie being small, there were no shoulder belts in the back of that Bronco, so we never wanted to drive it around when she couldn't have proper safety harnesses. I actually looked into installing a roll cage under that fiberglass top to be able to add shoulder belts. But I couldn't imagine a steel pipe roll cage in the interior of that beautiful original condition Bronco. On to January 2013, and the Bronco that I bought twice. I had the Bronco itch again. My daily driver was my 2006 Ford Ranger, 4-cylinder, 5-speed, 2-wheel drive truck that got 26 miles per gallon on my 165-mile daily commute to work. I noted a pretty sharp maroon 1996 Ford Bronco with the 5.8-liter 351 V8 in the traded in going to auction lot at a local dealership. It was pretty much spotless, but high miles for a new car dealership. I immediately called. I made the trade that next day after Mackenzie said goodbye to the Silver Ranger. She was attached to that little truck. I traded my 2006 Ranger with just over 50,000 miles on it, even up, for the 1996 Ford Bronco with about 95,000 miles on it. I drove the Bronco to work the following day, filled up the gas tank, and thought, what have I done? Within the 72-hour grace period, I returned to the dealership and gave the Bronco back in exchange for my old Ranger. That was embarrassing. It was an excellent condition Bronco, but not ideal for a daily driver with my commute. And going backwards 10 years in age probably wasn't a wise decision. In August of 2014, I traded that Ranger in on our Chevy Volt that we own to this day, with about 176,000 miles on it. But that wasn't the last of the Broncos in this family. 3 years later, March of 2016, I saw a similar Bronco, a bit more worn and dented on one side, without running boards, for sale by a private owner, a teenager, about 90 miles from home. After talking with the owner and getting the VIN number to run the Carfax, I learned it was indeed the same Bronco I had traded for, and traded back just 3 years prior. He was asking $5,000. I paid $4,500 and it became mine. It was still in decent shape, but had about 10 years of wear from that teenager in a 3-year period. He had obviously had it in the woods, where he dented both sides, tore the running boards off, damaged the entire exhaust system. I drove it for about a year, replacing wheel bearings, bushings, patching rust spots, and ultimately determining it was just too sad to remember the shape it had been in compared to the shape it was in now. I broke even, minus all the repairs, selling it for $4,500 to a young couple looking for a Bronco for trail rides. During both the times I had Bronco drivers and the times I didn't, I was always looking for Broncos, reading Bronco magazine, collecting Ertl steel model Broncos like the ones I had played with as a child, and thinking about my next Bronco. In fact, I have quite the collection of those Ertl steel model Broncos, one that matches the original Bronco I had as a kid that towed a boat, one that tows some race cars, one beautiful red and white paint body style, and one pretty blue one that I never actually saw a Bronco that color before. When the new Ford Broncos were released, I was disappointed. They wouldn't scratch that itch I had. I always liked the old big Broncos. It's the 1978 to 1996 ones that I like the best. Those are now referred to as the OBS, original body style, Bronco, though they're not the original body style. The original body style was smaller from the late 1960s and early 1970s. But anyway, I've got quite that collection of new in-box Earl Bronco models in my display case, along with a collection of painted Ford Bronco brochures for model years 1980 to 1996. It's definitely an addiction. And I noticed the Ford Broncos used in every TV show, commercial, and series. Wouldn't you know it, as the prices the last 2 years for classic trucks has skyrocketed, my itch grew stronger. I watched Dude Dad get the square body truck and remake it like the one his dad had. Every old truck, and especially old Bronco, catches my eye. The itch had got too bad. I had to scratch it. First, I looked again to try to locate my 1983 Bronco. Could I buy it from a scrapyard somewhere if it hadn't been crushed? No luck. Couldn't locate it. Second, I located and contacted the current owner of our 1991 Eddie Bauer. He talked with me about how much he loves the Bronco. He lives down south and it's still in great shape, but he's unwilling to sell it. Third, I looked at inventory at junkyards online. Could I buy one that could be rebuilt into something that runs? No luck. And last, I looked at Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. There are two types of OBS Broncos on the marketplace. Really nice ones that are $25,000 and up, and really rough ones that still cost $5,000 and up, usually have lift kits and will cost probably thousands more to pass Pennsylvania inspections and not rust away within a couple years. Though the jacked up ones look cool, I've always preferred the stock look for the ones that I own. But then I saw this one, a 1995 Ford Bronco for a fair price, 351 V8, nice condition, high miles, but seems to be well taken care of, down in West Virginia. A little profile search and background of photo inspection, and I could tell this one was from a good home. Classic Ford vehicles in nice shape at a nice house. I messaged immediately. The owner was getting inundated with requests and messages, and let me give him a call. I knew immediately that he cared for his vehicles. He had the same love of Broncos that I do, and was a straight shooter. I told him I was interested. He probably could have sold the Bronco 10 times that day for more than he was asking. But he held it a week for me until I could get down there to do the transfer. This is our new Ford Bronco. We will do a more in-depth video about it soon. Listen to that rumble. Hopefully you enjoyed this introduction to our new Ford Bronco and a little bit of the history of how I've always had an itch to have Broncos like this. Like I said, we'll do lots more videos about this in the future, but this, I think, might be one of the ones we keep forever. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative and entertaining, we'd appreciate if you give us a big thumbs up. Leave those comments down below about those vehicles that have that special place with you in your life, and we look forward to seeing you again, hopefully, the next time.